Yes, guys, what's up? It's Speci here, and it's expansion season. Reveal season's finally here. We've got 3 brand new cards, as well as a teaser trailer for the second part of the Price of Power expansion, Thanedd Coup. If many of you will know, I talked about Thanedd Coup from my previous videos. It's where it all went down. That's where Gerhardt had his heart attack. Rience was there. Francesca was there. We're about to see some of the others. Thanedd was an island, and this looks as though, from the teaser trailer, this is Thanedd Island. Very, very excited. And as you will see in this teaser trailer, it all goes a bit mad. So, very, very excited. We've got 3 new cards. Let's look at them. Let's rate them. I'm also going to be starting a tier list for this expansion where we rate all the cards as we see them. And then once all the cards have been revealed, we'll go back and revisit and see if we want to shift everything around when we see some other synergies potentially we might have missed out on. Cool. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe for more Gwent content, deck guides, videos, and of course all the reveals and leaks, as well as liking the video. Comment, what do you think? Do you like these cards? Do you rate them? Do you not rate them? Let me know. All right, first card is Thanedd de Vries. Of course, you might know her from the Netflix show. In fact, a fun fact is the actress from the Netflix show is in fact the voice actor for Anna Henrietta. So going to be really intrigued to see if we have Anna Henrietta, the same voice actor for Thanedd, because again, that is who plays her in the Netflix series. So that's a really cool merge between the Netflix world and of course the Witcher world from CDPR. 6 power, 12 provision. She's a human mage, so of course we've seen the Patience cards already. There's one other Northern Realms card revealed in this first 3. On deploy, at the end of this turn, reset the order of all mages that use their order during this turn. Okay, there's a lot to break down about this card. First of all, if it goes through, if you have your Patience card stick, things like Gerhardt, things like your Bannard students, and we're about to see another Patience card in a minute, this card is unbelievably good. It's going to be an incredible amount of points. You're going to play this card down and then as a deploy, but then the next turn, so when you end the turn, your cards will then continue gaining patience. They'll reset. So you have to use this second to last. If you use this as a last play, the patience on the cards isn't going to work because it's at the end of the turn that the orders are reset. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if the placement of Thanedd also affects patience cards. For example, if you play Thanedd to the far left of everything in the front row, does the patience increase on Gerhardt, for example? And if you play her at the back, bottom right, would the patience not increase? That's going to be really interesting to see because I'm not sure how that one works. But it's also, again, worth mentioning, if you use an order in turn 1 of the round, like a Margarita Locke, she's a mage, but you're not going to be able to reuse her order if you used her in turn 1. Because you used it in turn 1 and it's only the orders you use in that turn. So my thoughts on Thanedd are, she's an amazing card when you're winning the game. But if you're winning the game because all your engines are sticking, you maybe don't need her. However, if you're up against an enslaved deck that's got tourney jousts, it's got assassinations, it's got seizures, all that sort of stuff, right? Your Thanedd could play for 6 points quite a lot of the time, and what you really want in this kind of a deck, if you're relying on your engines to stick, like your patience cards, you really want something that if everything's going badly, helps you out. And I'm not sure Thanedd is exactly doing that. I think she's a really damn cool card. I can't wait to use her and get stuck in. My thoughts are, though, that she's going to prove to be a win more card. So win more is an expression you use when the card helps you win games you're already winning. And when you're losing, having a tough time, she's maybe not helping you. So, Thanedd, going to be interested in seeing how it works out. I feel as though she's going to be a little bit too bad to reasonably see play. However, if this mage archetype proves to be really good and just popping off, of course you're going to want to play Thanedd in the mage, all-out mage deck. But she's not a mid-rangey card like a Gerhardt, for example, that you can play in any kind of deck, right? And she's quite expensive as well at 12 provisions. So my thoughts are, not a great start for Northern Realms. But let's not forget, 3 more Northern Realms cards this set, 2 neutrals, and also 4 more Northern Realms cards, which are all likely to be mage patient support. So we should really hold judgment until we see the rest of the cards. I want to make it clear, I love this card. I think it's really cool, but it's not a mid-rangey card like a Gerhardt. Again, you cannot play this in decks that are just, you know, trying to fit in a value card. This is definitely only going to be in Mage Northern Realms, okay? And I'm not sure it's the high-end card an engine deck needs because it relies on your engines sticking. If your engines are getting removed by Nilfgaard, by Lined Pockets Drill, this card is going to be a 6 for 12, and that is not what you want. at all. All right, up next, the other Northern Realms card from the first 3 reveals, and it's Aratusa Student. I've seen quite a lot of people comment on the art on this one, not being too impressed. I have to say I like it. It's a different art style, sure, but I still think it's a damn cool art, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the premiums. Aratusa Student, Human Mage, Patience, Order, Range, boost an allied unit by 0. So she is the Aratusa version of the Bannard Student. Bannard Student, of course, working exactly the same way, but in melee, and is damage. So is this card better or worse than Bannard Student? Well, it's significantly worse, because damage is a lot better than boost, especially as carryover. You imagine, for example, you see the Bannard Student in some mid-range decks where you play Shani to resurrect it, and it can come in at Patience 5 and kill a Koshchi, for example. You can't do anything like that with the Aratusa Student. You could maybe boost up your dual cards. You could maybe boost up an Arch Griffin as well. It's cool in an Arch Griffin deck. So it's definitely got its uses, but on paper, it's just significantly worse than the Bannard Student, sorry. Is this card good though? Well, actually, yes. I really like this card because, again, having played a lot of these all-in Patience decks, which obviously Tisea is sort of trying to support as well, you definitely need more cheap Patience cards. I've been playing Megascopes Hidaran for more Bannard Students. You've got the Aratusa Adepts as well, remember, that gain a point for every time Patience triggered. So I do think this is a really important card for this archetype. However, I must confess, I would like to have seen this have some sort of upside over the Bannard Student. This card's never going to see play over Bannard Student in like a mid-rangey deck. You'll always prioritize the Bannard Student. Again, it's just another card that's only going to be in these very all-in mage decks. However, I love the design of it, honestly. Like, I think it just is really cool. It's ranged, it's boost, while as the Bannard boy is damage and front row. Also, just another thing to consider, Shani is not going to be able to get both your Aratusa and Bannard Students out in the same game, because Shani is going to have to be played on either the back or the front row, and therefore you're going to really be prioritizing, again, the damage. So you're really going to want to Shani the front row. So is the carryover really that relevant on this card? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, but it's more likely to stick as well. It's more likely to survive, and I do definitely think this deck needed more 4-provision Patience cards. So yeah, I like it. I do like it. And also, my chat has made a very good point here. Fluffy said, it is just a pretty decent 4-provision card. Like, it just is. Like, it's when you compare this card to the Bannard Student that really you question if it's that good. But honestly, it's kind of good. It's kind of good. It's a little bit on the weak side again if you compare it to the previous card we had. But it's cool. I like it. All right, guys. Third and final card is at neutral. If you look at Megascope and Teleportation from the first set, probably my 2 favorite cards. Open up so many different decks as bronze neutral cards. There were 4 provisions. This one is 5, so it's going to be more difficult to include in a wide variety of decks. It's also in that sort of maxi range, which is obviously sort of the staple 5 provision card. It's also a bronze, so you can play 2 of them. Let's have a look. It is got 2 different things it can do. It can set an allied, not opponents, just your own, an allied scenario to the final chapter. So let's say I use all the chapters on my scenario. I can then play this to then get the 3rd chapter, something like a bombardment, whatever it might be. And on the range, it refreshes the order of an allied location. Let's start with the scenario. Okay, obviously every faction has a scenario. Masquerade Ball is the first one you look at. Oh my god, an extra thanks, guys. Don't panic. You're not going to play this in Masquerade Ball decks because you play Devotion in Masquerade Ball decks. You need that Usurper with the Agent synergy. You just need it for sure. So it's not going to be used in Masquerade Ball decks. Hooray. Okay, what other factions? Well, you could get an extra bombardment with it. Is it really good to justify playing this in at 5 provisions for a very conditional bombardment? No. I would not play this in a Northern Realms deck for Siege. Again, remember, you need to draw this card at the right time. You can't assault for it or anything like that. And you would have to play it in your scenario round after your scenario, like at a very specific time. You don't really want to use a location in Northern Realms particularly. So I don't really see it being that good there either, right? So I doubt you would see this being played in NR. I think one thing that catches my eye is maybe in Syndicate. Syndicate, you could get a Sly Seductress with it, which is pretty cool, especially if you're playing Hidaran, right? Hidaran synergy is a real thing with this card if the final chapter is spawning a card, because it would get you like more Sly Seductresses so you could get mad bonded ability, right? Again, is it really worth including it? Maybe if you're going all in for that deck. Is it that competitive? I'm not sure I see it. I think what my chat is also pointing out is probably the best one is going to be Gedineth. you would get an extra Mardrome. Another thing, honestly, I've considered doing with Geddy is playing Darren Megascopes for the Preachers, the bonded ability thing. If you've got bonded Preachers and then you play this card and get that extra Mardrome, it's pretty good. Mardrome can be worth more than 9 points on its own if you hit armor or a shield. So yeah, I think this card could be pretty good in a Geddy deck. However, let's look at the other side of things, the location. Also, people have mentioned Waylay. Is it really that good for an extra Waylay? I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced Waylay's that good to be using this. Obviously, Frevin, what's he called? I don't remember the guy. The guy with the pitchfork has some synergy with Waylays. So maybe there's something there. Siege 3rd chapter as well. I'm not convinced you would play it. It's interesting. I just don't think for 5 provisions, guys, objectively speaking, you're ever including this in a Northern Realms deck. Realistically, there's got to be better options. But maybe I'm wrong. Again, I think it's going to be best used in decks where you can use both the scenario or the location, right? Because you then aren't just having it shoehorned for this very specific moment to get an extra bombardment. Like, doesn't sound that good. It could be good for 5, but are you really including it? Maybe not. All right, so the ranged. Refresh the order of an allied location. Again, yes, this would skip the 2nd chapter. The first on the melee, it would, but you would use this once you've, completed the 2nd chapter, and then you would reset it to the final chapter. All right, finally, range. Refresh the order of an allied location. Okay, so there's a few neutrals. There's armory for some armor. There's a few neutrals, right? Land of 1,000 Fables. Definitely something you could do that's a lot of fun with that. I think that's going to be the key thing, honestly, that I'm looked to do with this. Like, double Land of 1,000 Fables, like changing stuff in your hand sounds really cool. Honestly, Land of 1,000 Fables is a card that I've really not explored that much. We saw Life Coach bring it to Masters to transform Assault into Draug. So there's definitely some cool things you could do with this with Land of 1,000 Fables. However, I think like the other key thing is going to be in Clogger's decks, where you can use the location from Nilfgaard multiple times, maybe with Cantarella Joachim as well. That could be an option. I also think Salamander decks, or maybe not even Salamander decks, but just Syndicate decks that have the location could be good. You could use the location, poison in round 2, and then carry this over to round 3 by playing Dim Rendra before you pass, therefore getting 2 uses off of the hideout, 1 in the round you play it, and then 1 in the as carryover. So that's kind of cool. I think it's pretty good there. And also in Syndicate, it has like some decent synergy with Passy as well. So it's got like you've got 2 uses for it. So the Northern Realms location, kind of bad. I could see it also being used in movement decks. I'm actually trying an all-in Squirrel movement deck right now. The problem is there's so many 5 provision cards you already want to use in Squirrel movement decks. Like, all the movement engines are 5p. Can you really justify playing this for a situational 4 for 3 movement? Maybe not. But it's interesting. Someone's also mentioned teleportation. That's interesting. Yeah, you could teleport this. Darren Megascope wouldn't work with this card, but you could teleportation it for some interesting value. So it's definitely a cool card. I think compared to Megascope and teleportation, it's definitely going to be used in less decks. But like, teleportation and Megascope are 2 of my favorite cards of all time. So I have to say I like this card. We're going to head over to the tier list and put these first 3 reveals into a tier list. When the expansion, all the cards are revealed, we will then revisit the tier list and see if there's, because of existing synergies, we want to move anything around. But let's head over to the tier list now and start filling it out. Welcome to the tier list for the Thanedd Coup. Okay, we have Absolute Geezer. These are going to be the very best cards, which are just going to be unbelievable. Like, I can't wait to get my hands stuck into them. They're going to be great. We've got Banger, which are obviously very good, but not quite as good. We've got Calm, which are like, yeah, this is all right. This is cool. Not Popping Off, which obviously, and then Stinker down at the bottom. Let's start off with the Aratusa Student. I'm going to go Calm. It is popping off. Like, I like this card. I think the deck needs another 4 provision Patience card. I would have liked it to have been a bit better so I could put it up here. But it's calm. It's cool. The deck probably needs it. Alright. Up next, we have this lovely lass, the neutral. I can't really, as much as I'd love it to put it here, because I love the design of this card, I really can't. I don't see it being that good at 5 provisions. Maybe if this card was like 4 provisions and less power, I could get behind it, but it's so difficult to justify including a 5 provision card that's so situational. However, I am sure it's going to find its place in some decks, and it's going to be a lot of fun to use. Because of the design of how fun this card looks, I cannot not put this in at least Calm. I can't really justify putting in Banger though, because I don't think it's that good at 5 provisions. There's not that many things I can think of like, oh my god, this is amazing. So I'm going to put it in Banger. In Calm, not in Banger. All right, This is controversial. I'm putting Tisea in. Not popping off. All right, I'm close to putting in Stinker, but this card is popping off. This doesn't work, right? This card is popping off, guys. But it's not. You think it's gonna pop off, but then all your engines get killed, and then she plays for 6 points, guys. Like, she's gonna be great. She is gonna pop off sometimes, but not very often, probably. So, as much as it pains me to do, I'm gonna have to put Tisea in not popping off. Again, we haven't seen the rest of the cards. We're gonna be, as more cards are revealed, we're gonna be obviously changing this when we see synergies. Now, this looks like a bad start. Does this mean I'm disappointed with the first cards, the first 3 cards? No, it doesn't. I think Tisea is supporting an archetype that we haven't seen the rest of yet, and I think that Tisea is a really cool card. I just think for such a niche card, she's too expensive for a card that has such a low floor at just 6 points. I think this Aratusa student, I really love the design. I just don't think it can be in a banger because it's just a strictly worse Bannard student. And this card is kind of decent, but yeah, it's not a Megascope or Teleportation, right? It's not a 4 provision card you can just put in a ton of decks. It's going to be very, very situational. You're going to have to build your deck around it. But I love the card. I just can't quite put it in banger because I don't think the stats on the card are good enough to put it in banger. Really love the first 3 cards. Looking forward to seeing the next ones. What do you guys think? Would you disagree? And yeah, let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you enjoyed. Bye.